Welcome to CP101 and welcome to the Anubis model kit from MRC, and this is from the movie Stargate, and it's for Edgar's or Madlabs TV and movie group build. We're working on the base while things are drying here. Mainly the filler is what I'm waiting on to dry. You saw in the last update we got the SMD installed in Anubis's headpiece here. We'll have to come up with a way to block the light coming out from basically his neck, because there's a gap. The way they designed this kit, when you glue the head on his neck, there's a gap about roughly 1/8 of an inch, and I really can't get in there well to seal it with some kind of filler or something. So what I'm going to have to do is get a flat piece of stock and basically attach it to underneath his head here and bring it out a little bit. We'll have to watch the neck here and to block some of that light. That's the only way I know how to do it. I don't think filler is going to work because I can't really get in there with filler to cover it up. Just the way it's designed, because it's close enough to the neck where you can't get in there, but it's too far away and allows light to come through underneath here, so it shines down here a little bit. So as I said, the only way I know how to do that is to put a piece of, like a plate, and light block some of that light. I don't know how else to do it. So that's what we're going to have to do there on the head. So we've cut our piece out of the foam board. This is about a 1/4 inch thick foam board that I got from the dollar store. We were going to make it 5x7, but then I thought, you know, I better measure the width of the Stargate, because I didn't want the Stargate to overhang the base. And I'm glad I checked it, because the Stargate width, the circumference, is bigger than 7 inches. So it would overhang or overhung on the base, and it wouldn't look right. I wanted to look nice and balanced. So I had to go ahead and make. I basically made the base the size of the booklet, which is roughly 5x8, a little bigger than 8 inches, maybe 8 and I don't know what the hell it is now. I don't remember, but it's just slightly bigger than 8 inches, maybe 8 1/4. So that's the size I cut. We need our risers to lift this up off the table a little bit, so we have room to install our coin holder, which is roughly about a 1/4 of an inch thick. You know, these are not that thick. Because, you know, obviously the batteries are not that thick on the coin holder, so a 1/2 inch should be big enough, give us more than enough room to you know, so we don't want the battery holder to be hitting the table. So I cut me 3 pieces that are a 1/2 inch wide, and then we'll glue them to the bottom here to give us our riser, and then I'll run a center support through here too, like this, so we can give the top a little bit of strength. So, you know, we'll frame this, run the support down the center, and then it'll make a nice sturdy base. Then we have to make our riser for the Stargate, and I have to measure a little bit because, as I said, we only have 5 inches depth-wise, and the Stargate's going to take up at least 1 inch. So, you know, we got Anubis. I don't want him too close to the edge here. So we're not going to have a whole lot of room between Anubis and the Stargate. So I might be able to get a step in there. I don't know. I think I can get a step or 2 in there. Won't be like it was on the TV, but it'll, you know, be a decent representation of what we saw there on the TV show, anyway, even though we're doing the movie. So what I'm going to do is get the risers on, and then be right back and show you how it looks with the risers on. We're back and we've got the base built using that foam board. As you can see, we've got the framework done, a riser, and then we've got a center support. I made this out of the scrap left over that I cut, and that makes the top good and sturdy because we don't want it to bow in. This is pretty thin stuff at 1/4 inch, so we got to reinforce it in some areas. We'll put probably, I'm thinking a push button switch in the front, and then we'll put the battery, and we'll put probably all electronics here in this little compartment right here. It's plenty big enough. I'm not worried about the seams here because we're going to be painting this a textured paint. We'll probably use the Tester's sand paint, the texture. Same paint I used on a flying sub base. And I think that'll look pretty good, so I'm not going to have to worry about the seams or anything. Once we paint this with the sand textured paint, you're not going to see all those things, no big deal. Anyway, we've got some things drawn out on the base bottom here to kind of help me. We've got his, where I want Anubis standing, we got his feet here. And then we've got where I want the pedestal. It may seem like he's standing pretty far back, but you have to remember that Anubis is holding out his weapon or his staff, and that ends up right about here. I made a little indent, but ends up right about there. So we have to push him back to make sure that the weapon or his staff is not, at the very edge or hanging over a little bit. We don't want that. So, but the pedestal, what I'm going to do is just cut pieces of this 1/4 inch foam board and just layer them up, and each one will be a little shorter than the other to create kind of sort of like a pyramid. And then we'll stick the Stargate on top of that. So that's what we're going to do next, is cut out our pieces for the pedestal, put them all on here. We'll use our hot glue gun. I use 2 different hot glue guns. I use this big blue one, which is a 40 watt, I think, to build stuff, and then I have that smaller pink one I use for holding wires and models, because it's a less wattage. It's a cheap one is what it is, but it works perfect for holding wires in a model. That's what I use it for. Then this big 40 watter for building stuff. So that's what we're using as our glue gun. So I'm going to cut them pieces of pedestal, and then we're going to be right back. And we're back, and we've got the pedestal built, and I think we've got this looking more like the box art. I think it looks pretty good. Way better than having him just stand on the Stargate. So let me take him off here real quick. Here's the pedestal, and as I said, all I did was just layer the foam board to build up a pedestal. I think it looks pretty good. The front piece of the pedestal here, I didn't go any wider than, you can see I got his feet marked on the surface here. I didn't go any wider than that. That way, if I screw up, I have room to push him back a little bit further. And he won't be hitting the steps. So I think it'll work out okay. After I had the pedestal built, I went back with my Dremel motor and a drum sander, just kind of beat up the pedestal, and I did the same thing to the base. I took my drum sander to soften the edges. I didn't want that real sharp edge, to round the edges off and round the corners off, and just to give it a little softer look. The Stargate I won't have to glue to the base, because it's this pedestal here is kind of designed to kind of hold Stargate. It's sandwiched in between there, and you can see how I hollowed out that center of the pedestal, and that really is enough to hold the Stargate in place. So if I ever need to move this, or you have to move it to another room or something, I can take the Stargate out and not have to worry about damaging anything. And the pedestal does a good job holding the Stargate in there. Now what I might do is I might go back on the back side here and maybe add a support. I got some scrap foam board here from making this pedestal. I got this much left of what I cut off the big board, and I might just go ahead and just put a little piece back here, hot glue it here, just to give the back of the base or the pedestal a lot of support, and give the Stargate some support as well, because it's a little flimsy. So we'll just go ahead and maybe add a piece like this or add a piece like this, and we'll cut it and just get it add a little support back here. Well, I found on eBay a couple Egyptian cats that are like a statue, and they're about, I think the thing said they're like 3 inches high. So I might buy a couple of them and put one on each corner just to give it more of an Egyptian flavor. It already has one, but you might put those cats on there, or I'll look at some other things on eBay that are Egyptian themed that we might be able to add to the base just to kind of set it off. So I think that's about it. Been working on this all day, on and off. So I think we've done enough for today. We're going to shut the lights out in the shop now and give it a rest. Tomorrow we'll get back to Anubis and get the filler work, try to get the filler work done on those arms. Whip them into shape so we can start, we can put the headpiece on. Well, the headpiece together, we're going to keep it off until, because it'll be too hard to paint with the headpiece on, so, but we'll get it together and ready to go, and then we can start painting and getting everything painted up. We could either start painting up Anubis or start painting up the base or what have you, but we're almost ready to start the painting process. So far so good, and it's been really fun building this. I'm having a blast. It's always fun doing these type of kits. Alright, we're up to way too many minutes. So we're going to end this video, and I think we're going to end this update. I think that's enough. So until the next update on Anubis, take care and peace.